Affirmations. It is Friday, December 16th. Getting ready for Christmas. God's answering my prayers. We're going to have a cold one. Looks like it might be in the 20s or 30s, as low as that on Christmas Day. So it's not Christmas officially unless it's cold in my book. Today I'm going to start reading at least Matthew chapter 5 and just give my commentary as I go. So I hope you all are doing all right. Matthew chapter 5. I can only find my King James Version right now, so here we go. And seeing the multitudes, he went up into a mountain, and when he was set, his disciples came unto him. And he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness. Excuse me. For they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Excuse me. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. Rejoice and be exceeding glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. Ye are the salt of the earth, but if the salt have lost his savor, wherewith shall it be salted? It is thenceforth good for nothing, but to be cast out, and to be trodden under foot of men. So I'm going to stop right there, and I'm going to just talk about this part of Matthew 5. I like how it says, whenever Jesus saw the multitudes, he went up into a mountain. So he got to a place. He obviously knew that it was important. Time and place are very important. So he went up to a place in a mountain where he knew he would be able to see and watch properly the people, and where his voice would be projected enough. Now, so you might say, well, that's stupid. That's just, it's not stupid, but that's just obvious. But really, Jesus understood communication, okay? And when we communicate, we want to make sure we have the most effective, possible vantage point of communication. So he went up to a mountain. A lot of times when you're communicating with people, it's good if you can watch them and see them. You can see their reactions. You can see how they're receiving it, what they might be having trouble with, and it will actually help you in when you're ministering, when you're teaching, or even if you're just going about your daily life, but you want to excel in everything you do. You want to have an excellent spirit about you in everything you do, at your job and your friendships. Learn to watch. So be at a place, if it's an internal position or wherever, where you can see clearly. He went up to a mountain. Excuse me. And he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, well, this is key. First, he opened his mouth. You can't go into premeditating stuff so much to where you just don't talk. A lot of times what's in you is already there that you need to share with the body of Christ, or with a friend or at your job. And you just need to talk. If you need to learn something, you don't have everything you need, open your mouth anyway and just start talking, and the answers will come, and you'll start saying the things that need to be said. If you think it's all going to be perfect, it's supposed to look a certain way, it's supposed to sound a certain way, I can never say this word, I can never go or huh, or different things like that. You start putting these restrictions on yourself, and it trips you up in your flow. So you need to just open your mouth. You need to not be worried about how it's going to sound, come out, what the words are going to be like, and just talk, okay? Because some of you have speaking gifts out there. You need to be talking, you need to be opening your mouth. Also, we learn whenever we engage in conversations, If we never talk about something with somebody, we can never find out the answer. Even if it's not what you're looking for, you still need to express yourself. So you need to have people in your path, in your inner circle, that you can talk about things that you maybe wouldn't talk with everybody else with too, to get proper feedback. There's nothing wrong with this, all right? That's healthy. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. poor in spirit. The word spirit really means attitude, all right? If you see, he's trying to say that you might see people in your life walking around that have this great attitude. They're just beaming, they're charismatic, this and that. I'm not saying God doesn't give people personalities like that, but you might be going through something, and there's nothing wrong with that. You might be going through something where you're more poor in spirit, where you're just down, your attitude's not there, and he's saying, usually that's an effect of what you're going through. Something you're going through, you're going to be poor in spirit. So he's saying you're blessed when you're that way, for yours is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. It's kind of, to me, he's going on the same track here. He's saying people who are down about stuff, I want you to know that I'm with you, that you're actually blessed, that the kingdom of heaven is actually yours. I think the world, people don't know Jesus so much. They do everything they can to not allow themselves to get to this state. But sometimes, as we go about our lives and we experience things, we are going to reach that state. And instead of trying to pull ourselves out of it through the flesh and through, drinking or through all this stuff, and never let us get down there and face yourself, you're never going to really grow like you should. So if you're mourning, Jesus says you're blessed because you will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. To me, meek means people who are strong and quiet, meaning they speak when they need to speak, but they're not foolish with their words. Excuse me. Because words carry a lot of weight in society. So meek means people are strong, but they're humble, so they don't have to prove to anyone that they're strong, because they actually have humility. And it's kind of rare to get strong people that are also humble. And I think that's what the word meek means. Strong people that are humble. A lot of strong people get prideful because of an improper understanding of God or themselves and creation and different things like that. So meek people are people that are strong, but you might, if you just look at them, you might not get that sense about them because they're not blabbering about everything. They're not trying to exert their strength through a lot of words or through a lot of emotional outbursts. They're just quiet and strong. They shall inherit the earth. Now, of course, I believe he's talking about the physical earth, but first, to inherit the physical earth, you have to inherit the earth in people, which is their soul. So he's giving us a key to how to cause people's souls to open up to you, to gain favor. It's to be meek. It's to go and be strong, be bold, be confident in yourself, but also be humble. Don't be foolish with your words. Don't have emotional outbursts. Don't try to gain strength over people through all these actions. People who are strong and humble, you just know it, and people respect it. So you inherit the earth within people. And through that, you also inherit the things that come with everyone that you connect with. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. When we hunger and thirst after things in the world or in regular stuff, we can usually meet that hunger or thirst. Like when you're physically hungry for food, you can go eat. When you're physically hungry for water, you can go drink. When you're hungering after maybe just being with your partner or being with a friend or being at your job, having a sense of purpose, you can usually fulfill those things. But righteousness is something that you can't fulfill in your own flesh. So it has to be given to you by God. So you're hungry and thirsting after something that's ultimately invisible, but will eventually manifest itself through your good deeds and your good words, righteousness. But it has to really start on the inside. So if you hunger for righteousness, to be righteous like God, but to go about it through faith, not the works of the law, true righteousness. Think of it like this. If you long to be like God, he's righteous. Don't see righteousness as like a set of rules of yes and no. You always do this and you never do this. You're righteous. Think of the word righteous meaning you're right. God's always right. You want to be right about everything. I mean, not in a sense of like, I'm right, you're wrong. Meaning you want to make the right decisions. The decisions God would make in that situation. You want to see things the right way. how God will see them. So if you hunger and thirst to be like that, it says God will grant you that. And it takes faith. I think that's why Jesus is encouraging you, because it doesn't really necessarily take the same type of faith to go eat a physical meal when you're physical hungry. It does take faith, but not the same type. This is you're putting your faith in God for something that ultimately you can't see, but you will see the manifestation of it. So if you are hungering after that, Jesus is saying you will be filled. You will experience righteousness. You will learn how to do things like God. You will learn how to see things like God and speak like God. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. This is real big because the human heart, the human mind is very, very opinionated. I know all of you listening don't have any opinions about anything, but think about it. We're very, very opinionated as humans. It's not that that's wrong. We can't go into our heart and change it. It's wrong when we speak those opinions out and it becomes judgments. You know, I don't need to say everything that I have an opinion about, because it's just, that's when it turns into a judgment, or can turn into a complaint, complaining a lot. It's a lot. Judgments and complaining are you just stating your opinions usually. And, you know, that's when offense comes. We want to be aware of offense. You could not cause offense to people very easily if you just quit stating all your opinions. Now, am I saying you go around and you never give your opinion? No, but like learn to really watch it, because some of your opinions can come across as judgmental and can be offensive to people. So be merciful instead. Sometimes to show mercy, even though we have the Spirit of God living in us, we ultimately want to show mercy. We can still have our opinions, but sometimes in a situation we need to just pull back and show mercy instead of giving our opinion, which becomes a judgment. There's balance in this. I mean, you're not going to be perfect, and you're also going to have to watch for other people's opinions. But when you can show mercy, especially when someone deserves to know your opinion, to know your judgment, you know, or if maybe you're in the position to affect their life in some type of way, you have some type of power in their life at a job or anything like that, you know, learn when to show mercy. Now, if you show mercy, it says you'll be shown mercy. So we're all going to need mercy at some time in our life, no matter where you're at with the Lord, no matter how great you are at your job, no matter how wonderful you are in your marriage, or wonderful as a parent or a child, you're going to need mercy at some time, so you want to show mercy, all right? Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. This is really big, because if you see God in people, in things, and you choose to see the God and what God's doing, it causes you to be less judgmental. And it causes you to understand more what's happening in front of you and why it's happening, because you're seeing God at work. And even if you don't understand why, you can at least know that I see God is in this. Now, in order to be like that, you have to be pure in your heart. Meaning, purity he's talking about is not like necessarily gold that's been refined and become pure. He's talking about you being the real you knowing and accepting your real heart, you not putting blinders over yourself and living in the dark and not accepting parts of yourself and always going to this false version of reality, this false version that you've created of yourself, of people, but like purely accepting and realizing who you are in your heart. When you become pure like that, you know who you are. Usually if you become pure, you know who you are, and you see the impurities, you see the things that are good, you see the things that need to change, and you accept them all. And it actually produces humility. And I think that's one of the reasons you see, God allows you to see more, because you're more humble when you're pure in heart, when you accept who you are. Accepting who you are, you're going to have to accept the things you don't like. You have to see the things you don't like. But one of the benefits he's saying is that you will see God moving in society, in people, in you. You know, in the midst of all this stuff you don't like, you'll see God. But it takes being real with yourself. You know, if fake on all different levels, fakeness causes you to not see God moving. People that don't see God moving in a relationship or situation are usually portraying a fake version of themselves to society, to God, or even to themselves. They're just not being real with themselves. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Again, most people in the world, and even a lot of Christians, it's the natural first thing to have retribution, to have justice, and justice is good and all that. I'm not, but I mean, in the way that we think about it sometimes, like, two people, somebody could have hurt or offended one another. In this person's mind, they deserve, to have a fight, to this and that, and they're going that way. Sometimes people get locked in that emotion or in that thought process, and they go at it. If you can come in and bring peace in the midst of turmoil, you don't have to even say anything. Just bring the peace in the way that you do, and they're going to see you as being from God, because people always usually attribute peace with God. Even people in the world that don't even know God, okay? Like the way that like a true Christian would hopefully know God. Of course, they probably believe in God, but peace is always linked with God. So if you can come into a situation and make peace properly, they're going to say, this God is here. God is in this person. You're going to receive some glory from God. God wants to share his glory with you. You're going to be known as a child of God for bringing that peace, when you could have let, in that thought process, their fight, what they're doing is probably totally right. You could just let that happen, or you could be in that fight in whatever way and let it happen and be totally fine. But to make peace instead is almost like the high road. By going low, you're going high. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. I believe persecuted for righteousness' sake means not only if someone knows you're a Christian, sees you reading the Bible, this and that, but when you're doing what you know is right before God on your own personal path, in ministry, in your own life, and of course, if you really have a relationship with God, really, and you don't just know about him, you should be incorporating his ways into every area of your life. Job, marriage, friends, ministry, of course, everything. So, as you manifest what you believe is right before God, and of course in a existential way, which is right before God, but also in a personal way. Like if God's personally taught you to walk a certain way, to act a certain way around a person, to give ministry in this way, and you get persecuted for that, okay? And you get kickback, and people don't like it, or they make fun of you, they tell you you're wrong, or this and that. It says, I love this, yours is the kingdom of heaven. So think about it. In ministry, somebody say, I don't like that. I don't like how you do. You might have to make decisions that people don't like sometimes. And if they persecute you for it, you got to stick with your decision. You put your hand to the plow. You can't take it back. So, but yours is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. I think this is kind of along the same lines. Like, just talk bad about you, make fun of you, do all this stuff for the sake of Jesus, of being a believer, but also of living how he would want you to live, because you're doing that for his sake also. So I think anything that you do in your heart for the sake of Christ, like I'm living this way in my marriage because this is how the Lord wants me to have a marriage. Say, I'm thinking in blanket terminology, but I function this way at my job for the Lord's sake because he wants me to function this way. And if you get made fun of for that, I believe you're being persecuted for Christ's sake. So you're blessed, it says. Rejoice and be exceeding glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. That's comforting. Everything down here, money, clothes, cars, houses, even our physical bodies, will one day perish. The moths will eat the clothes, the money will be burned, it'll be whatever. But the rewards that we have in heaven will last for eternity. And everything you do for God that you receive a reward in heaven for, it lasts forever. And everything down here that you receive a reward for will not last. So whenever you are persecuted like this and people persecute you for Christ's sake, whatever you do for his sake, be glad. Be glad and rejoice. Learn to rejoice and rest in the presence of your enemies. Rest in your conflict. One, you have reward in heaven, and two, you can be encouraged that they also persecuted the prophets. Imagine, these were the prophets who were sent to Israel to give her God's light, God's truth, God's love, to guide her back. They killed them. They persecuted them. So if they did it to them, they're probably going to do it to you at times. They are. And you can rest assured, you can rejoice, actually, be glad, because you have a reward in heaven for that. Ye are the salt of the earth, but if the salt have lost its savor, wherewith shall it be salted? It is thenceforth good for nothing, but to be cast out and be trodden under foot of men. In other words, if you have salt and it goes bad, there's no purpose for it anymore. So I believe Jesus is saying, you're the salt of the earth. Continue to be who he has created you to be. Continue to bring that light. Continue to bring that flavor that he's given you. Because if you don't, what's the purpose for even continuing to be here? And this is something that we don't talk about a lot, but when we were left here for a reason after the Lord saved us. And he wants us to enjoy a good life. That's a big part of it. But also he wants us to be the person we were created to be and use our gifts to affect society in the way he wants us to perfect it. So if you're someone who has lost your savor, meaning you just suppressed your personality, you don't use your gifts, you're not really doing anything, you're just kind of existing, then Jesus is saying, watch out. Like, you're here for a reason. I don't want you to think of the verse so existentially judgmental. I want you to think of it as like if you aren't salting the earth like you really are supposed to, then pick back that attitude and go. Renew your faith in him this month. Renew your commitment to him. Renew your commitment to walking the way he created you to be and to use your gifts. If you just have it's like, get up, child, get up and go. If you just are kind of like getting by, you're not adding your gifts to the body of Christ, to society. You're not saying the words that only you can say in your heart. You're not, living your life in pursuing an excellent spirit, an excellent life, and influence. Sometimes you're influencing society. Like, people that don't even follow the Lord influence society. So how much more can we not influence society following the Lord? And so find yourself, be pure in heart, pick back up, get a good attitude, rejoice if you've been persecuted, been talked bad about for being, like Christ, meaning doing what carrying out your relationship with him the way that you do. And realize that you are here to continue giving salt to the earth. You are here. I think it's easy, because I've been this way before, as Christians, to get so wrapped up and just wanting to leave, wanting to be raptured, wanting, we're saved, I want to be with the Lord. Paul said he had that desire, but he knew it was better that he stayed. It was better for the body. So he knew that if he stayed, it wasn't necessarily better for him, it was better for everyone else. And I don't want you to think, well, Paul could just think that. I want you to think that everyone can, because you were created, even if you're not a Christian, you would need to live. God wants you to live your life. I know some people would argue with that, but he really does. He wants you to come to him. So as a Christian, you come to him, but don't suppress your personality. Don't suppress your desires. Don't suppress that. Learn how to balance them and use them properly and contribute to society. Be the salt of the earth. All right? That's it. I love y'all. And I'm going to be back shortly, one day soon. And I'll see you soon.